What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. This time I'm going to be going over the perfect auction draft on the Yahoo fantasy football platform. This will be the second video in the series, so just yesterday you guys should have gotten a video outlining the perfect auction draft on Sleeper, and then tomorrow you guys will get one reviewing the perfect auction draft on ESPN. So highly recommend you guys take a look at all three of those, regardless of which platform you play on. It's really interesting and nice to see which players vary in terms of how much they cost from platform to platform. It really helps give you a leg up when you get drafted on your specific platform as well. Highly recommend taking a look at all those variances as well, understanding which platforms are giving you the biggest edge, and understanding which ones potentially maybe make players more difficult to acquire just because they're maybe a little bit more expensive to come based off of that pre-draft value. So these videos are really fun. Obviously, the roster we're outlining here is solely based off of pre-draft value. It's sort of something I do going into each of my drafts. I try to sort of outline like an idealized roster, something that I think is a realistic approach to making my team, and then obviously I've got to branch that out depending on which values that present themselves, which players I can't get, which players I can, and then sort of build off of that. But it's good to always have that in mind. That way you're also budgeting throughout your entire draft to understand that you're going to be able to spend the full $200 or whatever your auction budget is. So it's sort of fun to build these. Obviously, it's not going to go perfectly when you get into your draft, but it's a really fun template to have and good to see what you can build going into the draft. So yeah, with that, let's get into the quarterback spot. So starting us off with our quarterback on Yahoo, Josh Allen seems to be the most sensible pick here. He only costs $24 on most platforms. You'll see him cost in the mid-30s to low 40s. So this is by far the cheapest you'll see Josh Allen go for on any of the major platforms. I view all of the top three quarterbacks very similarly, and that just makes it to me there in general. In any draft I'm going to makes sense for me to draft the one of those three that ends up being the cheapest. Honestly, on Yahoo, it happens to be Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes is $25. Jalen Hurts is $29. I have no problem with taking Mahomes here instead. I just really wouldn't take Jalen Hurts over the other two on Yahoo, although honestly, all three of them are good values. On this platform, all of the quarterbacks end up being pretty cheap, so it really just makes sense to grab the top tier guy. You're spending the equivalent of like a mid-third, late third round pick on one of these quarterbacks in terms of if you want to relate this auction value to their pre-draft value, and that's actually a really good spot. Normally you'll see these guys go in the late second round, so it's very real value here, and I think these guys are going to be real difference makers for you come regular season. So I think Josh Allen makes the most sense here on Yahoo. Moving on to our running back one here, this one's a little bit of a lower cost guy. We got Jahmyr Gibbs coming in at $20. This is the cheapest you'll see Jahmyr Gibbs on any of the major platforms. He normally goes for around $30 as like a projected like middle to late third round draft pick. I just really love the upside of Gibbs, but I don't really find myself drafting a ton of him. It really seems like Yahoo, though, is the place to do that. He's got a legitimate shot at being a top 10 running back, and $20 is the right price tag for him, if you ask me. I think that the upside is there, and because he's so much cheaper, the running backs on Yahoo are actually quite expensive, so it really just didn't make sense to me looking at that to really spend up on one of those guys, because as you'll see later, a lot of the wide receivers and the tight ends are just much cheaper, so it made the most sense for me to wait and put most of my money towards those guys, especially in a PPR format, which this is based off of. So Jahmyr Gibbs comes in as our RB1 here at $20, and it's going to allow us to really build out a better roster later. Moving on to our running back two here, James Conner seems to be the most sensible option. He comes in with a very low $8 price tag. He's just going to have a ton of volume this season. It's going to be really hard for him to finish anything worse than an RB2 just because he's probably going to touch the ball 300 times this year. It's going to be really hard for him to really not outperform his ADP, assuming he can stay healthy. On most platforms as well, he costs you roughly $15 to $20, so getting him for $8 on Yahoo is just a steal. I like the value of James Conner even at that $15 to $20 range, so getting him for $8 here is just a steal, and it really did play a role of me being willing to sort of go cheap on the running back position so that I can really prioritize my wide receivers and tight ends here. So James Conner for $8, really great value. I would highly recommend targeting him in Yahoo drafts. For a wide receiver one, this is where it starts to get fun. We're going to start ourselves off with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He comes in with a very low $36 price tag. He's locked in to be a super consistent wide receiver one in fantasy this season. He might not have top 5 wide receiver upside just because he's not as explosive of an athlete, not going to have those big plays exactly that some of these other players are going to have, but he's going to volume his way to being a really efficient player. He's got a legitimate shot to break 100 receptions this season, should easily receive for over 1,000 yards. He's got some touchdown upside as well. They utilize him near the goal line more than you'd think, so Amon-Ra is going to be a super valuable asset, and I'm more than comfortable with him as my wide receiver one. And on top of that, on most platforms, Amon-Ra is going to cost you roughly $50, 25% of your budget. Here, he only costs you 18% of your budget at $36. Yahoo's a really great place to be drafting Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I personally have no problem with his value even at $50. So Yahoo's the place to draft Amon-Ra. I would totally target him on Yahoo drafts this season. Up next with our wide receiver two, I just really couldn't help myself. Chris Olave makes the most sense here for me coming in at $30. Like I said, I really just can't help myself. I think Chris Olave is a value pretty much everywhere, especially if you have Amon-Ra St. Brown to pair him with. Olave slotting in as your wide receiver two is really awesome because I think he is going to be a little bit more boom or bust than some of the other top tier guys. He's a true deep threat, so he's going to be a guy that's going to have some really week winning performances, and then he might have some other weeks where maybe he finishes with like 10 fantasy points, which won't kill you, but I think you're going to have a bit of a roller coaster ride with Olave and in route to that really high end finish. So having him as your wide receiver two, especially with like a really consistent performer in Amon-Ra, seems like a really quality way to build your roster. And even though on Yahoo he is actually the most expensive, this is actually the most expensive Olave is between the three major platforms. I just really don't care. I think he's a really good value. I've got him ranked as my wide receiver 8. That's way ahead of ADP. So just based off of my rankings, he's really good value pretty much everywhere, and I find myself drafting him almost regardless of the cost. So I really love Olave, and I just find myself drafting him on Yahoo, even though it's not necessarily the best platform to do it on. And then moving on to the tight end position, this gets fun again. We can finally draft Travis Kelce here. On most platforms, I find myself kind of out on Travis Kelce. He ends up coming at like a $70 price tag, and it's just something that I really can't get myself to pay. But on Yahoo, $50 is just a really good price for him. It makes him the 9th most expensive player on Yahoo, despite an ADP of the 106. So you get about 3 spots of value there. I think that as well with how much money that you can save at the running back position on Yahoo, along with the quarterback position, we're allowed to basically be leaving this draft with 2 receivers I'm really happy with. We already have a top 3 quarterback, and we get the number 1 tight end off the board. It's a really exciting way to build your roster. I think that Yahoo's like the only place that you can actually justify spending that much on a quarterback and on a tight end. So if there's a place to do it, it's definitely on Yahoo, and I think that Travis Kelce is going to be a huge boost for your team. So if I'm going to draft Travis Kelce, I'm definitely going to do it on Yahoo this season. Then moving on to our flex spot, I think Jerry Jeudy's the perfect guy to slide in here. He's only got a $9 price tag. He's got a ton of upside, but on most other platforms, he's going to cost you roughly $20. So Yahoo's a really great place to be drafting Jerry Jeudy on. On top of that, he's just likely going to finish like a mid to low end wide receiver 2 for me. I've got him statted out to be a wide receiver 23, I believe. So getting him to be our wide receiver 3 here is really nice. He's obviously got a ton of upside. A guy that, I mean, for $9, I think it's hard to really go wrong, and not going to kill you if you bust if the Broncos end up being a horrible team. But I'm not projecting that. I think that Jerry Jeudy is going to be a really great value, especially on Yahoo, where he comes in at about half price. And then moving on to our bench, there were a couple of real obvious values that presented themselves. Number 1 would be Marquise Brown here. On most platforms, you're spending $10 to $15 on Marquise Brown. Here, he only costs you $4, so he's basically a must-add for your bench. You could even go a little bit more expensive on your starting lineup and just slot Marquise Brown into your flex instead of Jerry Jeudy here. I think Jordan Addison and Gabe Davis are 2 really great values as well. I think Addison's got a shot to be a top 24 guy this season. Gabe Davis is going to be a really nice guy to have that you can play in your flex if you ever need him. Both of them are only $2 on this platform. David Montgomery, for me, is the perfect running back 3 off your bench. He comes in at an $8 price tag. Same amount as James Conner, but he's going to be a guy that you can start pretty much any given week. I have no concerns drafting both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery as well. I think they're both going to be on the field a lot. They're both going to be guys that can perform well in pretty much any single game the Lions play in, so no problem for me drafting both of them. I've got Antonio Gibson as our running back 4. He's only $2. I really like his upside this season. And then to sort of give ourselves maybe an outside shot of having a true top-tier running back this season, I feel like Alvin Kamara for $3 makes a lot of sense here. I'm not exactly a believer that Alvin Kamara is going to have an elite fantasy season, but for $3, it's hard to really bat an eye at it. I think that if he is a bust, then who cares? It's only $3. We've got enough running backs in this roster that we'll be able to survive, and he's also got a clear-cut path to potentially being the running back 1 on this roster, so he's worth the lottery ticket at this price. So it's a really solid bench there. It's really cheap as well. I generally do like to say that you should really be as top-heavy as you can with your starting lineup. I generally budget roughly $2 per bench spot here. We spent a little bit more than that because there were so many values I really liked, but I think this gives you enough depth as well that I'm really happy with the combination of my starting lineup and my bench here. So just do a quick final review of the overall roster. We finish up here with our quarterback of Josh Allen. Our 2 starting running backs are Jahmyr Gibbs and James Conner. Our 2 starting wide receivers are Chris Olave and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Our starting tight ends, the one and only Travis Kelce. Our flex is Jerry Jeudy. We're going to have any kicker in defense. It doesn't matter. You're only going to spend $1 on each of them. And then our bench wide receivers are going to be Marquise Brown, Jordan Addison, and Gabe Davis. Our bench running backs will be David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, and Alvin Kamara. If you total up all these pre-draft values, it is exactly $200. So not a whole lot of wiggle room here. That's why this is the perfect auction draft on Yahoo. You'll obviously probably have to pay a little bit over for some of these guys and a little bit less, but this is a team that you can build on Yahoo if everyone goes for how much they're supposed to. I would be super ecstatic leaving my draft with this team. To me, I've got 2 top 15 running backs, a top 3 quarterback, 4 top 24 wide receivers, because I'm including Marquise Brown in that. The tight end 1, plenty of depth. This would be a team that I'd be really confident in winning my league with. Really love my odds of making the playoffs and being a dominant team. So I'd highly recommend that you try and target all all of the guys on this list, especially if you're drafting on Yahoo, you don't necessarily need to draft this exact team, but all of these guys are really great values in the Yahoo platform. They're definitely the guys that I'd be looking to build my roster around. So yeah, really like this team. I really like how it turned out. I think it's going to be a team that you could certainly build a really quality championship contender around. So that'll do it for this video where I went over the perfect auction draft on the Yahoo Fantasy Football platform. Like I said earlier, I did a similar video with this, going over the perfect auction draft on Sleeper. So if you're doing drafts on Sleeper, or even if you're not, do go take a look at that one. It might be really useful. And then tomorrow, you guys will be getting the perfect auction draft on ESPN. So whichever platform you play on, I highly recommend that you watch that specific video. I don't think it's by any means a bad use of your time to watch all three. It really helps to see which players are valuable on which platforms, understand how their pre-draft values are going to vary across platform, and really try and take advantage of which platform you're drafting on. So really fun to do these deep dives. I think that it's a little bit further analysis people can do for their auction drafts that a lot of people don't take. It's really going to give you a leg up when it comes to draft season. So if this is your first time on the channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I really hope you liked the video, and if you want more like this, please do hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so you get notifications when I put out new videos. There will be a video pretty much every single day throughout the course of the rest of the off season. We've got several going out every single week during the regular season as well. So I'll be here to help you win your league, and really hope we can do that this season. If you liked the video, which I hope you did because you made it this far, please do give it a thumbs up on YouTube. It really helps with the algorithm, really helps me know that I'm doing a good job, helps me know that you guys like the videos, and really helps grow the channel as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.